So next up, we're going to be talking about SpaceX IPO hype. Oh man, everybody's talking about it. So I'm going to bring up a little bit of my thoughts on it. So SpaceX has been private for over 20 years under Elon's leadership, but things sort of accelerated. The company's confidentially filed with the SEC back in April 1st. That's hilarious. Now, as of mid-May, they've accelerated the timeline, targeting a pricing as early as June 11th, and a NASDAQ listing ticker something like SPCX. Now, I did see people playing around with, hey, why don't you just make it SEX? That's hilarious and super immature, so we can't do that one. So SPCX would be the possible ticker, and we could be seeing SpaceX IPO as early as June 12th. That's what day is it? 15. That's less than 30 days from now. So let's just say we could see a lot of people just selling off huge swaths of what they don't necessarily feel like holding to put money towards this IPO exposure. Here, let's look at some numbers. The valuation. They're aiming for 1.75 trillion to potentially 2 trillion, jeez, at IPO. That would instantly make it one of the largest companies by market cap. The day it goes public, it could literally be one of the largest companies. I don't know how that works. Like, what do you just instantly get on the S&P 500, automatically on the Mag 10, Mag 7? Or, I mean, most likely SpaceX will absorb Tesla in some way, so we'll get SpaceX as the replacement there on the Mag 7. I don't know. This is all wild speculation. Here, more numbers. Expected to bring in 50 to 80 billion, dwarfing previous records like Saudi Aramco. Like, this is their raise. 2025 financials, this is what they reported. Roughly 15 to 16 billion in revenue and about 8 billion in EBITDA profit. EBITDA. Starlink is the cash engine. Starlink is on almost every major airline. I'm seeing people who are saying they will not choose an airline without Starlink because it's become such a necessity, especially for us as traders, as podcasters. We now have access to the internet in that 4-5-2 hour flight span. For me, it's 4 or 5 hours no matter what, because I'm in the middle of the ocean. They're not putting Starlink on my inter-island flight. That's no sense. That's like 40 minutes at the most. But for the 5-hour flight from Honolulu to the mainland, oh, that would just be a godsend. You wouldn't be dragging the overall bandwidth on the airplane. Everybody can do their own thing. People can get to their own lives. It's increasingly difficult for people to sit that long without having access to steady Wi-Fi, which makes people pretty agitated. So this keeps the overall vibe of the air a little bit on the chiller side. Now, air travel and space travel are naturally dicey. Like, we're playing with physics here, and then we're trying to be like, nah, I don't feel like listening to you. I'm gonna fly. So, just congratulations. Starlink is a big part of SpaceX's financials. So we're gonna be seeing Starlink as a big cash engine driving the now stock market because it's going to be a public company, one of the largest ones. Now, there are 9 to 10 million subscribers for Starlink at the moment, driving majority of the revenue with strong margins. Launch business Falcon, Starship, adds the rest plus growing AI / space computing angles post XAI ties, right? They're bringing that all together, right? Elon is just kind of mushing them all together and making some sort of Michelangelo's David out of all this clay. Now, this isn't cheap multiples by any stretch of the imagination. We're talking sky high price to sales if you're looking at current numbers. But bulls argue it's a three-engine empire. Reusable rockets, dominating launches, Starlink as a scalable internet play, and the long-term Mars/multiplanetary vision. Investors like Ron Barron are calling it a future, quote, largest company on the planet, close quote. And if I'm going to be bullish, largest company interplanetarily. Yup, that's the word. Nailed it. What makes this IPO unique, though, is up to 30% of the shares could go to us as retail investors, way above normal IPOs. Expect massive oversubscription and retail frenzy. So, this would be a good time for people to start selling off their profits. So you're going to see a downturn, but right when SpaceX IPOs, you're going to see a massive retail investment. Okay, so I'm still not 100% sure how I'm going to play this, because you got VCX, you got DXYZ, which is another closed-end fund, and this is just a straight up guess, maybe even Robinhood Ventures Fund 2. Now, they didn't say where they're going to put that out, but if they could get that out like a week before. No, what would be the point? That would be super pointless. Never mind. So we're down to VCX and ticker DXYZ, both closed-end funds. VCX I wouldn't touch. Like, they flew and came back down. Here, we'll look into them for a second. Since we're talking SpaceX, we got to know. All right, here we go. Once this feels like loading, we can see the price action of VCX. This is a kind of a good indicator of how people are expecting SpaceX to move. Excuse me. You gotta try to do two things at once, huh? All right, let's back up a bit. So as you can see here, it started on the low side, started at $75, and then ran and ran and ran all the way up to 300, and now we're back at 195. I'm not in this one, but I have heard that the shares itself are locked up till like September. So you're not even allowed to sell what you bought till later on this year. So we could see a bigger move after the IPO of SpaceX, but what would be the point? I imagine that you're trying to get in there beforehand, and right before SpaceX IPOs, or when they list that they're about to IPO, you pull out your profits from here and you put it directly into whatever you can afford for SpaceX IPO. The shares could come out at like $1,000 right there at the IPO price, and then shoot up for all we know. I'm not quite sure. This is going to be a very interesting IPO. So moving forward, it's just going to be kind of dicey. So personally, I don't like to mess with dicey, so I might just sit on the sidelines, or maybe just a small exposure to kind of see what happens here. Like, I'm not fading it by any stretch of the imagination. Like, this is good stuff. I just don't trust us as retail investors to invest wisely, but not extremely bullishly and stupidly at the same time. There's numerous examples how the retail investor has sort of moved a market in the completely opposite direction than that stock price was supposed to go. I'm not going to list any examples. But on another couple of reasons why this IPO is unique is Musk will retain heavy control with super voting shares. It's like your shares weigh more than individual shares. Like a sun and a neutron star, right? A sun is quite big, like our sun, our star, quite big. But then you got a neutron star, which is by size sometimes smaller, but by weight millions of times heavier. Like a spoonful of a neutron star could weigh as much as a planet. Yep, I'm gonna stick with that. All right, so this IPO could suck up a ton of liquidity in June, but it might also spark a broader space boom in public markets. If you're an investor, get ready. Secondary shares have been trading hot privately, like I said, and showed you. Once it lists, expect volatility worthy of a rocket ship. That's for damn sure. Whether you're bullish on multiplanetary future or think the valuation is pure hype, SpaceX going public is going to be the market story of the summer, if not the year. Who knows? People could be rolling out their SanDisk profits into this, and who knows? The rest of the year could just be rocket talk, from Rocket Lab to Space Mobile, ASTS, I think is a ticker for that one. My God, just bullish all over the place.